In this demo, we're going to look at the loop end action hook. If we were to explore a page by turning on our action hooks in Simply Show Hooks and scrolling down, we would find loop end. And if we go to a single page, we would see it. And if we were to click into a single blog post as well as the archive listing. So loop end is going to appear at the end of every time you have a loop. It also has a counterpart, loop start. Now in our example file in our functions.php, we're hooking into loop end with our WP Hooks loop end marketing. Now I've set the priority to 10, but that's just default, so it doesn't really need to be there, just trying to be specific. And then in our actual function, we're just calling and loading a template, postendmarketing.php, and making sure that it loads by passing true as the second parameter. If we were to open up that file inside of our template parts, we would see that it's simply some HTML markup, and then we're echoing do shortcode with a Caldera form. So inside of Caldera Forms, which I mentioned before, which is a simple drag and drop form builder, I've created a basic form with the name, email, and a sign up button. If you want to follow along with this, you can, although you could just output a basic HTML message. So when I click Get Shortcode, it's going to give me the Caldera Form shortcode for this, and that along with Do Action, which allows us to take any shortcode that we would use in the visual editor and execute it in a PHP template, making sure that we use echo along with it so that it shows up. So all of that code should end up showing up after every place that we see loop end executed. Now, if we look at the front end of our site and scroll down, we could see where we would have loop end, our little marketing there appears along with our form. If I turn on my Simply Show action hooks, I could see that down here at loop end, we could see that it is in fact hooked in as we would expect. But you'll also notice that we have a loop end over here outside of recent posts because this is technically a loop as well, and our code is hooked in. Now, this raises the question of why isn't this template executing here? And the reason has to do with when this code for this widget is executed, it does not have access to execute locate template properly. However, if we were to just echo out some text, and then load our page again, we would see that hello appears in both instances because this echo is accessible. So this raises another really important point with hooks. You don't always know everywhere that they're going to execute, and this can be a little tricky and will take you some time to really get the hang of. Now what we could do is search for do action loop end and find everywhere in core that that's occurring, and that would help us understand a little bit more. But in order to prevent this kind of scenario where we're exporting stuff out where we don't intend it to, we could also rely on conditional statements. So what I'm going to do in my code is write a simple one-line conditional that says if is not in the loop, which is one of our conditional tags, I'm going to simply return and stop. In fact, I should put my echo back in here to test. So this is saying if I'm not in the main loop on the page, then go ahead and exit out of here and return and stop. That will ensure that everything that happens after that takes place just where we want it. So now notice when I refresh my page, the test shows up over here, but not over here. Now technically it's still hooked in, but it's not going to do anything in this instance, which is really what we want to prevent. Now this would have all worked if we were just using locate template and we wouldn't have an issue, but I wanted to point out this fact again, that when we hook in one place, we might be hooking in more than one place or in more places than we expected. And in this case, it's easy to see on the same page. However, that's not always the case. So you do want to familiarize yourself again with the conditional tags to make sure that you're exiting out when you don't want to be there and only displaying or hooking in the right circumstance. Now again, there's no way to just tell you all of those possible scenarios, so you'll experiment and come across it as you go, but this one example of loop end is a good one to keep in mind as you go through that process.